Welcome, everyone. Glad you're here today. Thank you. Very honored to be here with you today to bring the group in. We're going to do this a little bit differently since this is fairly new for us to be able to do this. We're going to do it every month. In fact, the next one is scheduled for March 30th on a Saturday. So I hope you mark that down. We'll put it up here in YouTube very quick. And this is going to be strictly at YouTube. We also have the chat room going. You can ask your question at any time that comes to you. Please feel free to do so. We'll try to mark them down. We've got George here and we've got Kathy here that'll be working with us to be able to make sure we get all the questions and everything taken care of. We'll bring them in just a moment. Here, well, let's go ahead and say hi real quick. There's George for us.
Hello, everybody.
Good.
Nice to be here.
Thank you. And then we have Kathy as well who'll be reading these.
Hello, it's so nice to be with you today.
Good. Okay. I'm going to go into channel first. The group has a message they want to bring first, and then we'll go into the questions that have already been sent in. For next month, if you're interested, you can also send them to questions@espavo.org, and we'll have them on file and be able to answer them. Or if you have a last minute question or something that comes out of the channels that we're about to do, you're welcome to ask them in the chat room at any time. Normally I say we're only interested in very big questions about the globe, things of that nature, and the group stopped me from doing that. The group is going to answer these for the first time in live channel. Normally Steve has been telling you what the group has been saying, but this time we're going into channel and we're going to stay in channel the whole time. So I hope you enjoy this today. I do want to tell you before Steve steps out a little bit that we have a wonderful event coming up that I'm very excited about. It's called Triality, and it's all about the universe being based in threes. There are some very magical people that knew these secrets. They knew the secrets in use in technology as well as universal energy. One of them was named Nikola Tesla. We're going to be talking about Nikola Tesla. We're going to be talking about vortex math. We're going to be talking about some of the ways that he used it. He's actually the inventor of wireless technology in general, and a lot of it came from his use of the 369. If you're a light master, you know we've been working with this for some time. We have a regular thing that we do every time we come together where we go through the threes and so forth. Go to espavo.org and look down the page. You'll see a whole thing about triality. And the reason we use the word triality is that we are stepping out of duality into triality as we move into the fifth dimension. Come join us. With that, I'm going to take a quick breather here, bring in a little music while I bring in the group. Espavo, everybody, thank you for spending your time with us here today. Really, we will enjoy this together. Espavo. Greetings, dear ones. I join you as the keeper of time this day, for your time is starting to shift. I tell you a brief story about something that's taking place on planet Earth right now. It is actually attracting the attention of the universe. Universal beings are all watching planet Earth at this moment because you're evolving, and so is the planet. And this can be very exciting. Can also be a bit confusing, so we wish to bring it to your attention so that you'll understand a little bit of what we are doing here. You have planet Earth that is rotating. It's interesting because you're actually traveling on the surface of the Earth at about 1,000 miles per second. Excuse me, 1,000 miles per hour. If the Earth were to stop, you would fly off into space very quickly. But in the core of planet Earth, there is a very hard center. We'll simply call it iron. And the interesting part about it is it floats amongst a bunch of magma in the second layer. Well, it has always spun at a different rate than the surface of the Earth. And it has produced an energy in the universal energy, which allows you to communicate, allows you to create things, and it creates an energy very similar to magnetism that in the universal energy, which has created some magic on your planet. Recently, it has been slowing down. And when we say recently, we're talking about the last several years. This moves very slowly. But recently, it has stopped and is now traveling at exactly the same rate as the outside of the Earth herself. That is creating a very unusual situation where planet Earth can now start taking another path forward. You can change everything during these next few years. That is an incredible opportunity for you to work in harmony with the Earth, in harmony, more importantly, with each other first. Well, there is so much separation on planet Earth. This can actually start to change. The other thing that it is doing very quickly is starting to open up the dimensional walls between the dimensions that divide you. And even your scientists now do not call it the universe, they call it the multiverse, because they're aware that literally everything is happening in multiple dimensions simultaneously in this now moment. As that happens, as we've mentioned before, you have some magical things that are taking place. As the walls start to thin, you start to feel some of the other connections with other parts of yourself. It's almost as if you have the person you think you are over here, and another part of you comes over and starts to overlap yourself. It's actually all you, but it feels different, and sometimes it causes fear, sometimes it causes anxiety, sometimes, of course, if you're completely bringing it inward instead of outwards, you end up in a situation of depression. All of these things are very understandable, human reactions in the way that you work with things. And yet we tell you, these are magical times. Many of you have traveled backwards in time, some 300 years, to be planted in this particular time frame. As we've said, your seat has been reserved in this space, and the new game is starting to begin. In this time, we ask you, do not get discouraged at what you see taking place around you, especially your news, especially the things that are taking place in some of your governments. They're going to be pretty much upside down for a while. Things are changing. But you also have this beautiful pendulum swinging back and forth. And we tell you, especially now, with the core of the earth, this is a perfect time to plant your seeds of light, to create a reality for you. You are conscious creators, each and every one of you. And we tell you, you've come here to hold this energy. Now, many of you know exactly what you're doing. Many of you are teachers and healers in your own right. And many of you are still looking for that peace. We tell you, just relax. It will come to you. Or many of you are simply here to hold the energy of the family of light. Many of you have been troubleshooters throughout the universe. Whenever some problem was happening in some faraway distant planet, you were called to help. You have been called to Earth. And we hope you hear us. We are in your honor. We literally look at you and we honor you the same way you honor us. We're all part of a grand family of light. None better than the other, even us. We walk alongside you, dear ones, because that is more important than trying to have you worship or give your power away in any way. That is the time frame that you are in. This is the day that Earth stood still. Perfect timing for all of you. We hope you take it. We hope you understand that you are making a difference even if you can't feel it all the time. And when you are confused by this overlap of the dimensions that you're starting to see, almost as if you find yourself arguing with yourself, know that it's all in perfect order. We trust you. We know you as spirits from home, each and every one of you. You are well placed exactly where you are to be during these beautiful times of planet Earth. The opportunities abound for each of you now at this point, and we truly look forward to see what you are going to do and the choices that you're going to make. There's only one aspect that we ask you to do. You are conscious creators, and if at any point you find that you are unhappy with what you have created, choose again. You have free choice. Choose to change and watch the miracles start to unfold. It is with the greatest of honor that we get to greet you in these ways. We join you now for some questions that we'll be happy to answer at any point. Know that you are loved, dear ones. And when you hold hands, your power is amplified exponentially. Welcome home. With the greatest of honor, we ask you to treat each other with respect, nurture one another, and play well together. And now we will play and take some questions.
That was so beautiful. Thank you. Okay, so our first question says, "Hi, Stephen Team. I'm a long-time follower. Can you tell us what is going to happen to Gaza? I see the suffering and displacement going on there. Is this considered a genocide? Thanks so much, Jean from Hawaii."
Yes, Jean, we tell you, those words are human words. So to classify something as genocide or as other aspects of human words are difficult for us. We do not use that aspect. What we see is that this was intentional. What we see is that Gaza holds a very sacred place. As you may be aware, many of your religions have begun in this place, and especially in Jerusalem, very close by. What is taking place is very simple. Gaza has been bombed. It has been cleared of most of the buildings. If you think that that is going to be rebuilt in the same way, that is not the intent of those that have done this. Their intent was to clear the land. And although we tell you there are problems on both sides, obviously, this has been going on for a very long time. What we tell you is that finally people have reached a level of frustration that could not be resolved in other ways. And it was decided amongst those in the Israeli side, the leader of Israel in particular, that they would clear the land and that they would rebuild. The highest hope is to rebuild it as a beautiful Mecca, as a beautiful place where people could go and experience life, not a place where the people have lived and the Palestinians have done for so long. But this has been sort of at the crux of many of the problems of this area anyway. For it is written in the Bible, in the Old Testament, that this land belongs to the Jews. Well, that is a challenge. That no one owns planet Earth or any portion of it. You are stewards, each and every one of you. And when you show honest stewardship, you are rewarded very simply. But many of these settlements have caused Palestinians to leave their homes, even after thousands of years of being there. And this is at the crux of many of the problems. We tell you this is also happening in Gaza. It's a very sad situation, and yet humanity will only take so much before the pendulum starts to swing in the other direction. So although, yes, we tell you the Israelis have the challenge as well, because they can be having their normal lives in a very comfortable place, and all of a sudden a bomb comes over the wall and explodes for no particular reason. So it is being used. It is not actually limited to that one area. This is a global situation that has been going on for a very long time. At a certain point, dear ones, you'll start taking off the labels. And you'll start to realize whether they're Palestinian, whether they're Jewish, whether they're Christian, whether they're Muslim, makes no difference. Love is love is love. Find the ways that you are alike rather than look at the ways you are different. Find all these aspects of how you can work with this, and all of this will begin to change. As we mentioned, you are conscious creators, each and every one of you. And yet, when you hold hands together, it makes a huge difference. And furthermore, it is amplified exponentially at this point. Do that now. Find a community of light workers. Find a way to connect with other beings. Even what you are doing here is making a difference. You're amplifying each other's light just by coming together with a pure intent. Well done, dear ones. Well done. We hope we have answered that question. Espavo.
Here's Steve in the group. I follow you and Jim in the park bench. Very often we are asked to feel something, joy, ease, guide, etc. I notice that I find this difficult and very often I cannot. I know these times are about letting go and filling in the space with energy, your own energy, connected with all there is. I have this connection, but often I cannot consciously experience it. At the same time, I know I sometimes pass it without knowing. I feel my body has difficult time. It's tired and has business problems, and it can't keep up with the high speed changes and higher energy levels. At this time, I'm no longer the person I was before, but I am also not yet the person I could be. This causes confusion around letting go of old patterns. Can you explain something about the processes many people are in now and what they can expect or experience as a result of the changes of themselves? I expect I am not the only one who feels this way. Thank you for all your work and love. I will miss you on the park bench in the coming weeks, but I totally understand why. In love and light, heart to heart, Kari and Selling.
We tell you the keeper has decided that he needed a little space, so he backed off of the park bench project for a time. We have other ideas. He will be returning at least occasionally to the park bench. For it is a beautiful sacred space that has not only been built by him and the gentleman by the name of himself, but also by you. You've all created a very magical space, so we will be there occasionally at least to check in with the family of light, to reach out and to further the works of the park bench. Now, about the challenges of being able to feel this, be able to bring this, we're going to bring it into 3 simple ways of working with it so that you can understand a little bit of what is taking place. What if we told you that there was only 3 important aspects about being human? 1, to be able to love. Yes, we know love is confusing because being in a field of duality, you have worked with conditional love, and you believe that if you love, you must be returned. And that is not unconditional love. But to work with love lights you up in all aspects, even conditional love. So to love is number 1 on your planet. Number 2, to be able to see the larger picture. To step out of your aspect of what we call your bodysuit. Your bodysuit is basically who you think you are, the automatic part of you, the reactions that you have. Those are programmed in by your conscious brain, but your conscious brain does not make all those decisions. So to pull back and to what we call sit on the fence, to look at things from afar without judgment, that is huge. That's number 2. Number 3, to simply receive love, to hear, to be able to bring it into you and to ground it. Whether it's in return for love that you give or not, makes no difference. But when you are loved, most of you have an ego. Now, the ego, as you well know, when the ego gets too high, you cut yourself off from the source. And yet, many of you have the opposite challenge. Many of you don't have enough ego to stand up and say, I have something of value. Now is the time to balance that ego and to see that all of you are the same. no matter where you are from, no matter where you were born, no matter what your belief systems, it is all the same. You are spirits from home pretending to be human. Some of you are going to be born into wealth. There are lessons to be learned there. Some of you are going to find yourselves in extreme poverty. There are lessons to be learned there. When one can look at the other without judgment and actually see and support that, that is huge. And those are the three aspects we ask you to watch within your own lives to work with it. Now, also, when you are unhappy, please understand there are three aspects of the illusion of time. There's past, present, and future. Of those three, only one is real, right now. The future is a dream, it's a possibility, a potential. The past is only a memory. And now that you have these many areas of multidimensionality overlapping each other, you're going to find quite a bit of changes in what you believe the truth was in your past. So focus on the now moment, right now, and fall in love with everything that you see. That will allow you to create going forward. And finally, what we ask you to do is when you feel it, give thanks, because that sets up the opportunity for the whole next steps that you're going to move. Be in that now moment right now, in full love. Espavo, do you want?
Hello, Kathy. Can I ask you something? Like, there are some comments from the audience that there is an echo when you speak. Can you please check if your YouTube is turned off, the voice, the volume?
It is. I think that might be what we were experiencing before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We'll see what we can do with that. We just need to apologize because there is an echo to our audience. Okay, let's go on with Steve or maybe with your question and see what we can do with that.
Hi, Steve and Espavo teams. Can you explain a little yet about why you changed websites and website names? It took a while to get to the new site, but I really like the interaction on Lightmasters in the chat box. I think once I get into it, I would love it. We met when you were here in Brattleboro some years ago. I will never forget what you told me in a 2-minute reading that lasted at least 6 minutes and changed my outlook on life. Thanks for that. Sending love your way, Janie Trimble, Brattleboro, Vermont.
Yes, we'll tell you a little bit about the aspects of that. Can you read that first part of it again, please?
Yes. Can you explain a little bit about why you changed websites and website names?
Yes. This is actually a question more suited for the keeper than for us in channel, but we will try to do our best to interpret it for you. You see, on planet Earth at this time, you have many people who are working very hard to try to basically what you call hacking on the websites, being able to get into other things. Basically, war on planet Earth has moved online. As a result, the Keeper was being attacked on a regular basis at the espavo.org website. It is going down regularly, especially when he spoke of one particular world leader. So what has happened is he decided to go ahead and change things and move into a structure more suited for what you have to be able to create community. The same way that you speak of the Lightmasters having their own chat room, having their own place where they can exchange energy and help each other. That is one of the areas that he wanted to accomplish. On top of that, there are many aspects that are working. It is still Espavo. It is still thank you for taking your power. That is a big part of it. But it was important to move at that point. This was a particular third-dimensional reality that allows you to step a little higher into the fifth dimension. I thank you for asking the question, Espavo.
Hi, Espavo team. I see that you are offering a class on Triality. I've read your description, but don't understand why this is important and why it is being offered as a spiritual course. Can you elaborate? Thank you for your work. Red A.
Yes, the triality is part of what we're trying to have you understand. In the third dimension, well, let us begin from the beginning. The first dimension is unity. It's what you call God, the whole aspect of everything. All of your descriptions of God, in no matter where they came from, basically say the same thing. Each of you are connected in all parts of it. So in reality, you are God. That's the first dimension. Now, you had to go through the second dimension in order to land in the third dimension. In the second dimension, you picked up the attributes of duality. You picked up an ego, you picked up an opportunity to actually see yourself and to be consciously aware of yourself. And although for a very long time no other animal on planet Earth was doing that, they are doing it now. You have opened the door for many of these beings to be conscious. Please understand, humans are evolving, but you're not alone. Everything is evolving in a huge bandwidth, including the trees, including the insects, including the other animals on planet Earth, and the Earth herself. So in these evolutions, you're now moving into the fifth dimension. As you move through the fourth dimension, you must release some of the second dimensional imprints to move fully into this fifth dimensional reality. Now, your math, if you will, is all based basically in easy to understand things. Most of you can count by tens very easily. Most of you can count by fives very easily. But your math does not work on a universal basis. In fact, there are many aspects that do not even work in your third dimensional reality right now. So there's some interesting things that are taking place. It's because the duality has hidden the third aspect of all of it, the third leg, if you will. Take, for instance, besides the fact that we can easily go into scientific aspects and show you how this works, let's take the aspect simply of relationships. Relationships are typically built in twos, and different aspects that reflect each other in different ways. The reality is when you look through someone else's eyes at yourself and you love the person you see, you are in love. It's a simple way to describe it. And yet, there's a third leg that you don't see. In other words, in a relationship, there's always something that you must share together. Sometimes it's something that brought you together. Sometimes it's something very simple, like a sports that you like to play together, a game that you like to work with, books that you like to read. Whatever it is, there's a third leg of the relationship, which is hugely important. What we're going to do is try to show you in 3 days, of course, the opportunities that you have when you understand the triality that you're moving into. The piece that you are releasing is the second dimensional imprint of duality, stepping into triality. That is a fifth dimensional attribute. Isn't it interesting that from a spiritual standpoint, you have two eyes, the physical, but you always talk about the third eye? Fascinating. You have been aware that this is coming for quite some time. We'll bring you some aspects for you to create, for you to see for yourself, and that is what that is about. We have been talking about this for quite some time, but this time we're going to focus on it with three aspects and 3 events to bring it to you in a different way. We hope you enjoy.
Hello, Espavo. It is my understanding that the soul immediately exits the body when we pass over. Am I right in assuming that it goes to another dimension? What does it look like? I have images of trillions of souls bobbing about somewhere, but are they light? Do they take on another form? Simply invisible? Where are they? Would be interested to have insights from the group. Wishing you all love and many blessings. Wendy Edwards Immock, Derbyshire, Central England.
Dear Wendy, we tell you that you are correct in many ways. This is simply a choice of words, if you will. When you describe dimensions, when we talk about dimensional reality, and particularly the multiverse of the universe, the aspect that each of you had divided into different aspects so that you can have multiple experiences simultaneously, those are the dimensions that we talk about When your physical body dies, your spirit, of course, is infinite. It doesn't actually have to have a dimension in the way that we have described it before. So, in that aspect, the answer would be no, it does not go into another dimension. It returns home. Now, the overview of this is that it takes time for one to integrate. You may be aware there's many writings about what takes place after you die. It's not instantaneous. However, what happens is you are conscious creators. When you step out of the body with your spirit, you actually create the illusion that you're in the same body. If you were to look at yourself, you would see your hands, you would see the same aspects because you actually are creating it. It takes a little bit of integration to step to the other side. This is written in your Bibles even as going through the valley of the shadow of death, to be able to go through the tunnel, to be able to come from physical attribute into home where there is no time. And we know that's confusing for many of you, but it is a beautiful aspect. And when you understand it and you study some of the people that have stepped across that veil, you call them NDIs, near-death experiences, near-death NDEs, excuse me. And if you work with those aspects, you'll see quite a bit that these things happen. Now, one other aspect of this that we'll mention very quickly. Many of these NDEs have stepped out of their body and been told that they must return. What was that about? Interesting. If there's no time on the other side of the veil, how could it be that it would be the wrong time for them to go home? Only in the fact that you have multiple dimensions, and all the dimensions leave at one time. If one accidentally leaves before the others, they are told that they must return. They are told that they must go back until it is time for all of you to exit at the same time. That is magical. We tell you, you're closer than you think with all of this. So the body, the spirit does step out of the body. Many times the spirit steps out of the body before you actually die. Why? Well, sometimes you're in a car accident or you're in great pain. The spirit will step out of your body. You won't actually feel the pain in the way that you think. And if you step back into the body later, you won't remember it because your spirit has already stepped out and observed from a distance. It's a fascinating process. You'll learn much more about this as you go forward, but there are so many aspects that are taking place for you to understand your spirit. That is the process that we are working with. That is the aspect that we wish you to remember.
Hi, Steve and the group. I have had challenges with addictions of all sorts in my life. I have tried many cures and spiritual healings, but nothing seems to help. I have now lost my wife and possibly my job. Can you help? Forever grateful for the group.
This is a challenge for many people on planet Earth. It is huge in many ways. The Keeper has dealt with this himself at many points in his life and learned some tools to be able to work with this. We'll share with you the view from spirit rather than the view from humanity. There are many things that you are working with in order to make this work, but we also tell you that there are things that you can do very simply to work with this. The addictions are basically that you are addicted to the dopamine that drops into your brain when you experience these things. It is actually an allergy more than what you would call an addiction. We'll express it in a different way to be able to help you to understand a little of this. We also find it very frustrating because most of your medical community does not understand. They still believe, in many ways, that it is a lack of self-control, a lack of willpower. That could be further from the truth. It is a wiring situation, and we tell you that 1 out of 7 people on your planet has this problem. You can be addicted to all sorts of things. You can be addicted to alcohol. You can be addicted to all sorts of drugs. You can be addicted to sex. You can be addicted to almost anything that drops the dopamine in you. One of the most challenging of all of them is people that become addicted to food because you need the food. You can't exactly release the energy from that. So there are all sorts of aspects with this. Let us give you some very simple suggestions. Of course, it is different for each one of you. We many times address this in the private sessions that we do, and yet we're going to give you some overviews that might help a little bit. First of all, if you were to become aware, as we mentioned before, you have this bodysuit which reacts all by itself. You have programmed the bodysuit. It allows you to work without consciously thinking. The conscious brain takes a lot of energy. The bodysuit takes very little. You've already programmed it. If you've ever driven long distances, you'll know what we're talking about. Many times your bodysuit is actually driving the car, and your brain, your conscious brain, is off somewhere else having a conversation, doing something, some sort of problem you're trying to solve. And that is the difference between the bodysuit. Now, the bodysuit is where the addictions are. So the first thing to do is engage the conscious brain. What we tell you to do is there are going to be times where you decide you are not going to do that addiction any further. And when you do that, what happens is your conscious brain becomes involved. And yet, your bodysuit takes over shortly after that, and suddenly you'll find yourself doing exactly what you decided not to. It is not a lack of willpower. Willpower does not work on the bodysuit. Only the conscious programming works on it. You found many programs that you can go through for long periods of time that help to reprogram that bodysuit. We tell you one of the things you might try for yourself is to simply take inventory. In other words, when you slip, when you have a drink, when you have whatever it is that you are addicted to, and you find yourself doing it, the first thing that arises is guilt. Let go of the guilt. It is a useless emotion in the fifth dimension. So we ask you simply to take an inventory. Maybe get a book somewhere that you can write these things down. And what we ask you to do is simply say, on this date, I did this. Don't judge it. It's not good or bad. It doesn't mean you can't do it. And then go back to it. And you're going to find that pretty soon you are filling up these dates. Well, now what you're doing is you're taking the conscious brain to program the bodysuit. So that can help tremendously. Do you need to do anything about it? Do you need to compare one week to another? No. You need to do none of that. That is willpower. What we ask you to do is simply bring it to the attention of your conscious brain. It knows how to heal itself, and it will program your bodysuit to react differently. So that's one of the first aspects. One of the other aspects that we'll ask you to do is to find a witness, someone that you can tell everything to. You have a program called Alcoholics Anonymous for alcohol, and you, of course, have them for all different things, the weight problems, the food problems, the drug problems, etc. All of them work on having a witness. Sometimes it's a room full of people. Sometimes it's an individual sponsor that walks you through some of these things. That is huge because you can get an outside view of yourself from a different perspective. That is helpful as well. So find a witness, someone you can basically tell everything to, that won't judge you no matter what, that knows that it does not have to do with willpower. And furthermore, they're not grading you on how you did. And they're not trying to tell you you have to do better next week. And none of that is there. Simply witness without judgment. If you can find that, that is very helpful as well. And the third aspect that we're going to give you on this particular human problem is to simply allow yourself to switch addictions. Those of you that have addiction problems, you will find that you have addictive personalities. You can become addicted to a lot of things. When you find something that you can become addicted to, even for a short period, it takes away from the body's reaction in a certain area. If you are moving over here and say, for the time being, I'm going to become addicted to artwork. I love artwork, but I'd never actually drawn anything or worked with paints or anything of that nature. So maybe you can allow yourself to really focus on that. And when you feel this draw over here, that you must do something here, walk over here to work with the new addiction that you are consciously choosing. That comes from the conscious brain to once again imprint the bodysuit and the automatic brain. There's 3 simple aspects. There are many more. Some of those will work for each of you. Some of those won't. You're all individuals. Now, many of you will look for what is the reason behind the addiction. There must be some deep-seated thing. There must be some abuse or some imprint. Well, yes, we tell you. Many of you have actually put yourself in a family line to work with this, to be able to master it. And we tell you something magical. This goes on from generation to generation to generation. Your scientists still are not convinced whether it is genetic and passed on through your genes or whether it has to do with your environment. So we tell you it's both. And you have the opportunity because many times you will jump into a family line to help solve a long-term problem. So become aware of that. Know that whatever it is, you can start working to change this within you, but it's going to take your conscious brain, which takes a lot of energy, and program your other brain. That will work for you down the road. Espavo, dear ones.
Their next question is 2 parts, and it starts, Hi, Steve and the group. I was wondering, 1, the pineal gland activation with the Fibonacci spiral gathering universal energy, can that be used for healing?
That is meant for healing. You're going to find that you live in a field of spirality. You believe that your sun is here and your planets are all circling the sun, but they're actually traveling through space, leaving this beautiful spiral behind you. The reality is even your time is spiral time. As you move into the triality, you'll start to understand a little bit more of what that is and how that works. It's a different aspect, but you'll also find that much of this is moving in a different direction. Now, the pineal gland activation that we showed you used a basic understanding of what we call spiritual physics. In other words, these are physics that not only exist on your planet, but also exist on the other side of the veil. And you'll find that what is called the Fibonacci spiral or the golden mean, the golden spiral, are basically attributes that are working with all of these things in different ways. You'll find an understanding of this as you start to peel back the layers of your understanding of humanity and how things work on planet Earth on a universal basis. The universal energy is something we've been talking about for some time. We're going to be focusing quite a bit on that, particularly in the Light Master course, to show people what that is. You've had it for a very long time. Many of you have called it the Akasha. And of course, the Akashic records are contained within the Akasha. The Akasha is simply an energy which connects you all. Your scientists call it the dark energy because they simply don't know what it is, but they're looking at it. They've discovered it. They found that it's pushing your planets away from you farther than you thought. Physics is different on this side of the veil. You're starting to blend a lot of that together in both ways. There's some of these basic truths, in other words, triality, the Fibonacci spiral, the golden mean, 1.618. These are truths that exist everywhere. In fact, they don't quite exist on planet Earth, which is interesting. You have mathematical equations. All of your mathematical equations can be reversed and what you call checked to make sure that they are correct. You cannot do that with the golden mean. It is an infinite number. It does not work. It comes close, but the golden mean itself and the Fibonacci number sequence are basically the same attribute to try and discover what the universe is created through and how it works. And you bet you can use it for healing. All of you are healers in your own right and teachers in different ways, whether you are aware of it or not. It is why you've come to planet Earth. Those are the beings that we tend to attract with this message. We tell you we're working with this to plant some seeds. Take it and play with it. Use it. But some of these universal truths are very difficult to use in a wrong direction. But you'll find that this is a basic truth that exists throughout all of nature, throughout all the beauty in different worlds, and not just on planet Earth. This is something that is shared in many aspects throughout the universe, throughout the multiverse. We hope that helps you to understand a bit. Espavo, dear ones.
Okay, and the second part of the question is the setup whereby the spirit splits into 11 dimensions plus the higher self. Is it the same for animals? If not, how does it work for animals? Thanks and blessings, Karen Taylor.
Yes, in fact, we're going to be actually working with that down the road. We have told the keeper that we're going to do another course on animal communication, a brief course, only 2 days. But the idea is we've done animal communication before, but now we're going to be working with animal communication in the fifth dimension. Things are different. And we're going to be describing some of these things. The reality is we have used the illustration of 11 dimensions, actually 12 dimensions, because the higher self is the part in the middle, the 12th dimension, which connects all the other dimensions and connects you with home. It's how things work from a spiritual physics perspective. And yet it is only an illustration. The reality is you are infinite. We can't limit you to only 12 dimensions. We tell you you are in multiples of 12, you're in multiples of 3. But the reality of it is we have used that illustration so that you can grasp that you have other aspects of that. So the reality is it's much larger than you think. Now, animals experience the same thing. Not only animals, every insect, every tree, every leaf, every worm that crawls out of the ground, and the earth herself are in multiple dimensions that are infinite. If you look at humanity, humanity is definitely on the finite side of that equation. As you go through the veil and you become separate from each other, you pretend to be separate. You're actually connected, but you're pretending and playing a game, which is why we call this a grand game of hide and seek. God looking for himself, searching for herself. And here you are, working with this. All of it is multiple dimensions. And that has not been incredibly important going forward, but it is now, because those dimensional walls are dissolving. And that is a magical time, because what is happening is you're returning to the perfection that you had to hide in each one of these dimensions. It's a beautiful aspect. We hope you enjoy this ride. We know it is going to be a little bit confusing for some of you, having imprints of yourself overlapping other imprints of yourself. But we also tell you you'll catch on very quickly. That's why you're here. Espavo.
Hello to all. I have been introduced to you on the park bench. The journey you took us on through the woods was really nice. I hope you return to it. My question is about the Earth. We are heading into the summer. Will it be really hot again, or have we started to cool finally? Thank you, Wendy Johnson.
We tell you this is challenging because the Earth is a rather large being. Very similar to a large freight train or a large train that is moving hundreds of miles per hour. If it decides to stop or take a turn, it takes quite a while to do. And that is what we are asking you to do. About a year ago, we gave a message that was simply the next 4 years of planet Earth will set the tone for the next 70 to 100 years, depending on how things work. You're very liable to see the hottest days on the planet still again this summer. You're liable to see the wild swings of the planet. You're liable to see some of the Earth changing and the waters rising. That is not a secret. Your scientists have known this for a very long time. 99.9% of your scientists agree It is usually only those who involved with money, which often runs your entire organizations on your planet and makes many of these decisions. Sometimes political, sometimes money. They're both blending together very much right now. So what we tell you is you can change all of this by having your voice be heard very simply, that the earth is incredibly important. And what you will find is that you can turn this corner. Now, we tell you that you've also had some help from what you call the extraterrestrials. Many of you are very afraid of the extraterrestrials, and there are some that are certainly earned that reputation. However, we tell you most of them are wonderful, beautiful beings. Many of them have come through in channels very similar to us. And we tell you they brought love and energy to this planet in more ways than you can know. We also tell you that one of your greatest fears is atomic war. We tell you that's not as possible as you think. The ETs have already shown that to all the aspects involved. There are times when they have simply shut them off. There are times when they have simply armed them and started the countdown without any knowledge from the people in charge, only to shut them down, to tell them that they are not allowed by the earth and by the universal principles to do that kind of damage to planet Earth and the cosmos around planet Earth, because it's not limited. So with that, know that you have help available. We've told you a while back that there were 4 portals opening, and in those portals were opportunities for beings to come to work with the earth. Most of the beings that have actually, humans that have actually talked to these beings and had conversations at some level, one of the first things they tell you is that they're there to work with the earth. They're there to help change and to shift this earth. It has been in difficult challenges. It is still on a spiral downward. You're going to see the earth increase in heat. You're going to see all the aspects of it and increase in cold in some areas. And you're going to see wild swings going on for a time. And yet, when you turn the corner, what you'll see is it starting to level off. The first thing that you'll see is that this movement is going like this, and suddenly it won't be advancing quite as much as it did the year before. That is a good sign. That is an opportunity for you to get involved, for you to bring the earth into your meditations, into your prayer, to speak to her. She is a sentient, conscious being the same as you. You learn how to speak her language and how to support her. You are the stewards of the earth. It was originally given to the cetaceans, to the whales and the dolphins. They were holding the energy of planet Earth for a very long time, and they did quite well. Now it's been turned over to humans. This is your responsibility, your energy. And yes, there have been challenges to it. There have been growth ever since the Industrial Revolution. But you can change it. You're started already. Look for those ways. Work with it. We tell you one of the biggest challenges to humans is this microplastics that you see in your oceans. Now, you may think it has to do with simply throwing things in the ocean. It does, but there's much more of it. We tell you right now, you are drinking out of plastic bottles everywhere, all throughout the planet. Those plastic bottles are now recycled and turned into clothing. Well, that's a start. But become aware that every time you wash those clothes, you add more microplastics to the water. Take a look at the overview. Take a look at every aspect of it. Figure out ways that you can become involved, even the smallest areas, because you are conscious creators. And as we said, when you hold hands and work together, it is an exponential result that will work well. Stop it, always.
Okay, this is the last question we had that came in through the email address. And it says, "Hello, Steve. My question to you, background first for explanation. I just turned 80 on December 31st, 2024. Throughout my decades of living, I've had a lifetime of moves in both the US and Canada. Life has been filled with the greatest challenges of extreme poverty, single parent struggles, illness, my daughter's disabilities, and always fighting for my rights and for those of others. Paradoxically, I've had years of sudden, profound, and intense filled love and amazing visions, what I call love bombs of the heart, remembering past lives, happening in the moment, abduction experiences when I was younger, moments of suddenly experiencing the other side with amazing love, and so much more. Consequently, I've been on a spiritual, metaphysical path for over 70 years. Okay, that was part of my paradoxical background. Now, my question: I've met so many spiritual people in groups, always new with my many moves, who ignore my experiences or think I'm just making it up. They tell me I'm a creator and have been creating all the negative challenges in my life. I attest to that. They also suggest that if I was really spiritual, I would have a wonderful life filled with everything I need and no illness. But my guides once told me that the person living in a big house on the hill was no different than the beggar on the street, and that the person struggling with addictions on the street may be growing their soul more than the one on the hill. Please explain this paradox of my life to all of us. Thanks so much for your years of compassion and action. Love and blessings, Jackie.
You are correct. Number one, if you remove judgment from everything, from what you receive, from what you put out, you will actually activate your spirit in a different way. And that's what we're going to ask you all to do. We tell you on the other side of the veil, you sit around the big table, we call it, and you bring all these spirits in that you're going to interact with when you come to Earth. And you make contracts. And we tell you, sometimes you make contracts that seem very difficult for you to be a human. Sometimes you make contracts to be born into extreme poverty. Many of you have had contracts to be born into abusive situations and even addiction to those abusive situations, which repeat themselves, and so forth. You can learn more than those that aren't. Life is not about sitting on a hill. It's not about finding the top to be there economically above other people. It is not there to have the most comfortable life. When you come home, we hope you relieve that body, and we hope it has scar tissue all over it from all the incredible experiences that you've had. You hope your knees are all scuffed up from driving in the dirt and playing the games of planet Earth. That is what this is about. You are spirits pretending to be human. Use it all and release the judgments. No spirit. Spirit is perfect. Spirit doesn't need that. When spirit decides to pretend to be human and have an incarnation, you set up all kinds of things. Over here, you ask this person to be mother. Will you guide me through life? Over here, you say, I'm going to meet you in high school. Will you be my best friend? And over here, you find someone that you will fall in love with. Will you be my first love in high school? And will you fall in love with my best friend and break my heart? You do that intentionally. You have more to gain from that than you can possibly ever understand. And that works quite well. Release the judgment. Follow your heart. Know that you're on the perfect track for all of this. Things will work in a different way. Espavo, dear ones. Thank you.
Okay, that's the last question that I had. So I think we're over to George.
Okay, we have one question from Nalu. Does the higher self speak in your/my own voice? How can I hear or have a conversation with the higher self or other guides and non-human beings?
Your higher self is so much a part of you. When it speaks, it sounds like you. The challenge about it is humans don't trust themselves. That's part of your ego. That's part of how you perceive yourself. So when a voice speaks to you in your own voice, it's more difficult to hear, but it repeats itself. Your higher self has no judgment, dear ones. It's not always trying to find the path of least resistance. It is there for you to connect to help. There are many aspects, different forms of meditation that you have used, different forms of being able to create in different ways. This is a magical time for you to come together in so many different ways. And those are the opportunities that your spirit has. So please understand, again, your spirit has no judgment, and it will speak to you in your own voice. Now, if you wish to channel, that is a little bit different. Who do you channel? Well, you don't need to put out your discussion of who you wish to channel. You all have contracts to channel in different ways. We tell you all of you channel, whether you know it or not, whether you call it channeling. All inspiration comes from the same place. Some of you will channel in words like the keeper does. Some of you will channel in photography because you see a beautiful thing and you can capture it. Some of you will channel in artwork. Some of you will channel in music. Some of you will bring these in things from the other side of the veil. All of them are trying to capture something from home. And that is absolutely beautiful and magical in these terms. These are the things that we ask you to do. Please, again, know that you are perfect beings. It is only your vision of yourself that sees as imperfect. We dare you to look in the mirror and not try to find the little challenges, the hairs that are out of order, the little spots on your face that you wish to get rid of, all the different aspects of things that humans try to see to perfect themselves in different ways. Your spirit's perfect. Dare to look in yourself in the mirror. Dare to blur your eyes a little bit and see your spirit. It will work for you. Espavo.
Okay, we have one more question. This is from Light Masters. This is from Maria Dean. She says, I would like to ask some questions about community healing, especially after a natural disaster or an accident. Is there a way to help a group of people deal with the trauma so that it doesn't get embedded in a group of or family ancestral line? Or is it up to each individual to address the trauma?
It is actually both. You'll find that you have capabilities of other things. As we've mentioned several times during this session, when you hold hands, when you create together, it's amplified exponentially. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 1, 10, 100, 1,000. It's magical. And that's what we ask you to do. When you come together, even in groups of this nature, each of you are feeling the love that we are sending out. Ground that love in your being, and you are holding hands. It is amplified globally, very quickly. That is perfect. That is what we are after from this side of the veil. We are not here to teach you. Yes, we have things that we can share with you that might make your life easier, more comfortable, more spiritual in many ways. But at the same time, all we're trying to do is to help you remember that you have it all. You are masters walking this earth with blindfolds on. All we're trying to do is to tell you to keep walking, keep moving in that direction and work with it in different ways. You'll find lots of opportunities to create again and to bring this into a higher aspect. And as you do this, all of Earth changes. Have you seen the incredible shifting that's already going on? Now, as your dimensions are starting to come together and overlap each other, you have incredible opportunities. And that's what we ask you to work with. Now, what about community healing? Well, the Keeper has recently brought that to his staff to ask about being able, for it seems to be coming up in different areas, to be able to have a place where people can ask for individual healing and get a collective to work on it, but also to work on global healing, to keep those imprints from happening. As we've mentioned before, many of the global imprints, many of the imprints that individuals are working with are actually transgenerational. They have moved from generational trauma, and you've put yourself in that line. You said, Grandpa was part of the Holocaust. And he still was never able to resolve that, nor has the family been able to resolve that. So I'm going to put myself in that generational line, and I'm going to take that on. Now, when you're born and you're walking around on planet Earth with all sorts of difficulties that you're bringing in, you think, oh, I could not have created this myself, but you did. And bless you for doing so. You have more opportunities for advancement because of that, because you're bringing all of it up together through your family line, through the universal energy which connects all of you. That is something that the Keeper will be working with his organization, Espavo, to try and find a space where you can come together regularly to be able to do that. And when some tragedy hits planet Earth, and we tell you that is part of your nature, you are going to be working with these things for a while. That is part of the evolution and movement of planet Earth. So don't always think it's negative. Sometimes people have to go through things. We tell you one of the staff here at Espavo that has been speaking to you already recently moved to a place that was completely flooded as soon as she got there. Why? She was able to experience humanity on a different level. It imprinted her in ways that not many people were going to be feeling. So watch for the good side of those things. Again, look for the ways that you are alike instead of the ways you are separate, and focus on the positive aspects. Noah has given thanks for the tragedies that happen on earth, but you can certainly give thanks for the way people react and the way people come together. For you can be on totally different sides of an equation, a political aspect, a monetary aspect, whatever it is that divides you. And you have a tragedy coming to planet Earth. Guess what happens? You come together. You see the ways that you are alike. This has happened before with entire places, but we also tell you that if you were ever attacked from outer space, which actually won't happen, but it's a great illustration. If that were to happen, all beings everywhere on planet Earth would have a common force, a common goal, and that would be magical. Don't wait for that to happen. Create that now. Create opportunities for you to come together on a regular basis and work at healing these generational lines and the imprints of trauma before they are passed on to other generations. That can be very magical, dear ones. You have no idea how special you are. You live in incredible times, and your space has been reserved. We thank you for being here.
Okay, and I think this is our last question for today. Jenny asked, what is the best way to keep our vibration in the higher state and finally make it last?
Your vibrations are what you experience on this side of the veil. When you leave home, everything on your side of the veil is in waves. A wave is a vibration. And as you increase that vibrational rate, you raise closer to your spirit. Your spirit is in the highest of vibrations. So as you do this, you'll experience it for short periods in the beginning. Every time you experience, you move into a different level. There are those who have lived in nothing but meditation. They go to great lengths to live in special places where they can be in that energy all the time. Does it work? Yes, but not if it's not grounded with other people. So if you isolate yourself in meditation all day, it's good for you, but you can't ground the energy. You are not alone, and you never will be. You're a part of everyone and everything. So reach out and hold those hands. Find ways of creating that in special ways, and you'll find new energies starting on planet Earth. These are magical times, dear ones. You are the greatest angels that have ever lived. We tell you you've taken off your wings to come and play this game of pretending to be human. And all we're doing is holding the mirror in front of you so that you can remember. Stay out of judgment. Judgment is the difficulty. You have belief systems. We have called those BS. That's when you have a belief, but you not just have a belief, but you have, if you believe this, and you must believe this, and you must believe this, and you must believe this, and just go with your heart. Take the highest vibrations of all of it and use it for yourself. Claim it as your own and step forward into that power. That is the word Espavo. The humans are very accustomed to giving their power to different things, including us. We do not want it. Our job is to empower you, to have you walk, even if you never hear from us again. That is the aspect of what we do here. And the word Espavo is an ancient Lemurian greeting that was used so often, simply meaning thank you for taking and holding your own power. And with that, we leave you for now. So we have had a grand time with you. We tell you, dear ones, you come to listen to what we say, but we come to sit in your presence. We honor you more than you could possibly know, for you have taken off your wings. You feel pain that we do not feel. You feel challenges, and by that sometimes you have come to places where you have made more of a difference in the collective vibration of all humanity and all that is. And we greet you for that. Thank you for taking your power. It is with the greatest of honor we ask you to treat each other with respect. Nurture one another at every opportunity, and play well together as you create this magical game of hide and seek. Espavo, dear ones, I am the keeper of time.